Previously on 49cc Scoot. I got my first scooter running again after over a decade, now with a liquid-cooled conversion and many other functional and appearance modifications.
Well, we'll see how this goes. Rushed it together in the morning, got up before 6, started putting panels on, and I'm supposed to be at a friend's house in 20 minutes. It's 15 minutes away with a scooter that I haven't rode in probably, I don't know, more than 10 years, and an engine then ran in 2.5. Perfect.
It was immediately apparent that I had very little usable throttle. Basically, a small area around quarter throttle worked pretty well, and otherwise it felt too rich and broke up or surged. But it was moving, so as long as it kept doing that, I'd be okay. Pulled over to switch the display from RPM to miles per hour. This is the one thing that I can say I really don't like with the Stage 6 gauge. Unless I'm missing something, there's no way to see both detailed RPM and speed at the same time. You can see the little rev bar at the top when in speed mode, but I can't see detailed RPM like I can with the Trailtech Vapors on other bikes unless I switch it and get rid of the speed display. To make it a little worse, you have to be on the main screen to switch, which may mean cycling through A and B functions first to get there. And then you really need to use both hands to switch because two buttons have to be pressed at the same time and the gauge mount flexes a lot. At least now I could see that 40 to 45 mile per hour cruising was possible at low throttle. The next issue was the front suspension. It really doesn't sound that bad on video, but I promise you it was loud on the bike and very harsh every time I hit bumps. The front felt unsettled and untrustworthy, so for me this was a major issue. I could ride around at quarter throttle all day if I had to, but feeling like there could be a crash around every corner is not cool. Hey, we made it, and aside from a little bit of fear for my life, it wasn't too bad. I headed toward home in the afternoon with a storm approaching quickly. There was a strong tailwind at my back, so why not use this opportunity to see how fast it can go at quarter throttle. Just about 60, not bad. I richened the carburetor settings when I installed a pod filter, assuming it should need more fuel. But since it was acting rich, I went back to the settings that used to work, coming down from a 110 main jet to a 102, and moving the needle clip one notch more lean. That helped a lot, and I could actually use most of the throttle, so I tried a few test passes with the Dragy. And the GoPro froze. But at least the Dragy worked just fine. The times certainly aren't impressive after being used to the RC1, but there's a lot of price difference in an RC1 and a Chinese clone engine with an 86cc kit on it. And it's a very capable scoot for a backup ride. I didn't have a Dragy when I used this engine last, but I did do timed acceleration runs my own way, which I later checked to be pretty close to Dragy results. So I could see that it is a bit slow right now, but working well enough that I wanted to deal with the abrasive front suspension before worrying about any fine tuning. When I shortened the front shocks, I put a spacer on the damper rod and then cut the length of the spacer off of the spring. So the length that I cut off of the spring was exactly the same length that I added with the spacer. That's what everything I recall seeing about lowering this way says to do, but it sure didn't work for me. I added a spacer atop one fork spring to see what happened, and it worked great, at least in the garage. Without the spacer, the fork doesn't fully extend and has very little resistance. With the spacer, it extends at rest like it should and feels firm. The spacer was a totally random length of 827 thousandths of an inch because it was just something that I had around that happened to fit. So I made another one to match for the other side. Just adding these two spacers changed the scoot from unstable and unforgiving to something much more pleasant to ride. It still rides like a lowered Chinese scooter, and it isn't what I'd call a good suspension. But it's what I expected, and I no longer winced at the thought of a sharp bump. I also wanted to make a part to replace the rear wing that's stock on these bikes with something that actually functions as a handle and as a mounting location for a rear camera. I notched two pieces of 1-inch aluminum rod with a hole saw in my sketchy drill press. The mini lathe let me cut the other ends flat and make recesses so it fit over the posts for bolts, and I drilled and cut recesses in another piece of rod for the handle. Once assembled, it's not pretty, but it does work well as a handle, and the camera mount fits. Now back to tuning. I changed shims around to go from 1mm to 0.5mm on the drive boss because it felt like something was slipping to me. That didn't change the feel much, but it did go a couple of tenths quicker on average, so I focused on trying to get it to take off without breaking up first. Want to make your scooter faster? Fix it up? Upgrade the appearance? Then check out scootertuning.ca. They've got performance, styling, and replacement parts to cover your needs, and they offer free shipping on orders over $200. They support this channel, so please support them. Once again, that's scootertuning.ca. If I could get it to go without breaking up or whatever it was doing, I thought it should be able to match past performance benchmarks. I tried leaning the needle by moving the clip up one notch to the top position, but that didn't do much, so I thought it may be the main jet, and I went up from a 102 to a 105 first to be safe. That only made it worse, so I went down to a 98 main jet, and that helped a lot. At this point, it was back on par with the best results that I got when the 86cc was in T2, so I didn't go any lower on the main jet size and called it good enough for me. The throttle still had rough spots that make it break up and buck a little bit, but it was easy enough to ride. I did try removing all shimming, but that made it slower, so I put a new belt on and went back to 0.5mm of shimming because I wanted to get it ready for Ocean City Bike Week that was just a few days away. I asked a longtime friend of mine that rides his CBR 600RR with me when I'm on the T-Max usually if he would come down and ride T1 at Bike Week if I brought it along with T2 for me to ride. He said he would, but he just wanted to come up one day and take it for a quick ride on some back roads rather than trying it out for the first time at a busy event. Within a few miles he was comfortable and said he was enjoying the ride, so we rode a little more, and then I told him he needed to try T2.
Just remember the gas is actually, like when you start blowing the gas, it touches. It's fine, it's not like your bike or anything. There you go, you get a little bit of
We stopped to switch back, and I asked him if he would do some Dragy runs for me, because I'm 300 pounds and catch a lot of wind as well, so all of my scooters are slower than they should be, and I wanted to see what happens with a 175-pound rider. This one you can do whatever, wide open, it's fine, right from the stop. Just go up there to like that thing, turn around, run it up to like 65 or something. Yeah, just hammer it. It ain't gonna come up, or it shouldn't, no. We'll go on three. On three. 1, 2, 3. The results were both encouraging and depressing at the same time, especially since he let out early on at least 2 runs. Not only is he over a second quicker in the 8th mile than my best run, but the way it pulls at higher speed is unreal compared to what it does with me on it. His best 0 to 60 is about 4 seconds quicker than mine, and he made it up to 70 miles per hour without even trying. I did do about 75 miles per hour when the engine was in T2, but that was tucked in the best that I could and tuning to get the best speed that I could. For me, it feels like it takes a long time to get to 60 and beyond, and it pulls him up there like it's no big deal. You can even see in the trap speeds for the 8th mile where I'm finishing at 56 up to maybe 60 miles per hour if it's a really good run, and he got to almost 66 when he didn't let off early. At 175 pounds, he's not exactly a light rider either. No wonder some people are so fast. At least it does make me feel better about all of the people that tell me how slow my scooters are all of the time. I'm not claiming they're the fastest things around because I know better, but they aren't so far behind the curve when you see the kind of difference a rider change makes. Unfortunately, my friend didn't actually make it to OC with me. But have no fear, I still enjoyed Bike Week and rode with more scooters than I've ever been around. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you won't miss that. And please like this video if you've enjoyed it or found it helpful. Thank you for watching.